Hello, my name is Owen from Square Balloon, and I'm going to teach you a few Excel tips, mainly to help some of my new staff members out, but hopefully some other guys can benefit from it as well. So first thing they wanted to know was how do we add up numbers in a spreadsheet. So I'll teach you a couple of ways to do that. So let's just do, let's call it like invoices or something. Invoice amounts, let's make it realistic as we can do. So we have 10,000, 12,000, 3,000, 15, 45, whatever. Right, okay, so now we've got some amounts. Now we want to know what is the total. So what I'll do, in fact, I always do it at the top, because if you put it at the bottom and then you want to add another number and you have to keep moving it, or you can, or if I did it right, now if I did it, I would have to add another number. I could just grab it and drag it down. That would be one way to do that, which might be a bit annoying at times, or I can right click here and press insert and it will insert a new cell, and I can add another number in there. So either way, not the end of the world, but just to save me having to do that, I normally put it at the top here, or maybe in another sheet. So this is sheet 1, I'll put data, and this is sheet 2, I'm going to call it reports. So in here I'll do total invoice amount. So here we go back here, and I won't do it here anymore. What I'll do is I'll do it in the other sheet, so I keep this clean because I'm going to add some more information here. And in fact what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make that bold just so you can see that's a heading. So if I go into here, what I want to do is whenever I start with a calculation, I click on my cell and I press equals, and then what I can do is click back to my data sheet, and I can click here and press enter. You see it's got a dotted line around it. Press enter, it takes me back to reports, and now this cell equals the cell from the other sheet. You can also do this with a totally different spreadsheet. So I think I have one open. I'll press equals, and then I'll go into this one and I'll press that, press enter, and now that has done all the hashtags from the other sheet. So that's the thing. But what I'm going to do is work out the totals. So I'll clear that, and I'm going to press equals, and I'm going to type in sum. And you see they start to come up, and more come up in the desktop version than in the browser version. So if you don't see anything that I'm showing you, it's because you're probably in the browser version. And if you have got the browser version, you probably have access to the desktop version. So if you do, try changing it, see if it works. Anyway, when the sum has come up, but all the other calculations we could do have come up as well. Sum is the one we want. And so when I double click on it, it comes up with a bracket. So everything within the bracket is what the sum is affecting. And what it's saying is there's going to be number 1, number 2, number whatever, dot dot dot. And what I want to do, so I want to do sum of all of these amounts. So I press that, and I press enter. And now what's happened is put the close bracket for me, and it's saying I'm doing A2 to A7. Now, like I explained, that's great, it's worked it out, that's fine. We should make it clear that it's a number, so what I will do is I'll change this here and I'll go to currency, and luckily I've already got it in UK mode, so it's put a pound sign, but if it hadn't, you could just choose it from here, or if you needed dollars you could choose dollars or euros or whatever you need. So that's great, and it's also put a comma in there. It's actually put the pennies on it as well. If for example I only ever had pounds and I didn't need pennies, I might find that just a little bit unnecessary, so I could go in there, right click on font, and I change this down to 0 decimal places. Bosh, a little bit neater, easier to read, easier to scan. Now, what I said to you before is that potentially I could add another bit of data here. So if I do this, there you go, there's another invoice that's been collected, as you might expect. Another one comes along every now and then. But this report's now incorrect, or is it? Is it gone to 87? No, yes, it has actually added it, so that's quite cool. Didn't know it did that. Now it's this one hasn't gone to A8. So what's this warning saying? Admits an adjacent cell. So it's telling us that something's happened. But we could do without having to click on this every time and update it. So what we will do is we'll change our formula. So one thing we could do is we could just put a really high number, A999. Right, now we're covered. But once we get to the 1000th invoice, we're going to have the same problem again. So there's another way of doing this as well. You could just do that, I believe. There you go. So you have to do A to A, like that. So A colon A, let's enter, and it's now going to do the entire thing. So if I come in here and I do, just so you can see it visually, sum A there, and you can see it's highlighted in blue what it's going to do. Okay, that's cool. Now, I might want to say, well, okay, that's great. How many invoices are there though? So, if I click in between the two cells, you see the cursor changes to a different icon. I double click. Now this cell fits the data, and in fact this data is in the wrong cell. So now it's in the right cell. So now I say total number of invoices, and now we're going to go, well, how many invoices were there? So I'm going to do equals, and I'm going to do count, and I'm going to do count. So count counts the number of cells, and count A counts whether they are blank or not. So count would be like from 10 to 20 or something would be 10. Count A is just, are they blank or not? So I'm going to go back to here. In fact, I already know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, well, I'm going to, in this case, go for here, and then I'm going to put a colon, and again I have to, I'll just put a really high number in this case. That should be fine. Now it tells me there are 7 cells, but so some of them might be paid and some of them might not be paid yet. So we want to know which ones are paid and which ones are unpaid. So now these ones are unpaid, so I'll put that. So now I want to count only the ones that are paid. So number of paid invoices. So I press equals, and then I do count, and you got count if. Counts the number of cells given a condition, and count ifs specified conditions or criteria. So we'll do count if in this case. Count if, and we know it's A2 to A999. Right, that's the range. And then I do a comma, and the criteria, and in fact it was B, wasn't it? Equals paid, and then I close it. It was B that we wanted, not A. A's got the numbers, and B tells us whether it's paid. Oh, what's happened there? So B2 to B999 equals paid, and it's saying naught. So have I got the wrong cell? I haven't got the wrong cell. Have I got the wrong spelling or something? Nope. Count if B2 equals paid. How strange, what's going on? Oh right, because I'm doing it on this cell. So what I actually need to do is get rid of that. I need to click here and make sure it's doing it on data. So I'll do that. So now when I go back, maybe now if I change this to in quotes, like I had it the first time, there you go. So it has to be in quotes because otherwise it doesn't know that it's text. And as you can see here, it's done. It said that look in the data sheet and go on that B. I'm just going to add this one to a higher. So now we're covered. So now we know how many invoices are paid. And now, so now we might want to know, well, how much were the paid invoices worth? So now what we need to do is work out how much does this work only on the ones that are paid. And so that, how do we do that one? We press equals to start off with, and we do sum if. So we do sum if, we double click on it, and that gives us the clue. So we got the range, so we want the range is this one. So this is the range with the criteria. And so now we're going to do the comma, and then the criteria equals paid. So we just type the word paid in quotes. Now we want the sum range, so it's going to be this one. And then we can close the brackets and press enter, and it works it out. And what we want to do is we just want to make it easier for ourselves. We just gives us a very high number, and we do the same on this one, and a very high number. And so now you can see it's not the same number as the top one because it actually hasn't added them all together. Just turn that into currency. There we go. And then Sorry, I don't need the. I might need the decimals sometimes, but I don't always. So if I don't need them, I turn them off. You can see it's 89, it's 82 because it's missed a few out. And basically, what it's saying is check in the data, and what we're going to do is look here, check for any that say paid. If they say paid, then I will add up this calculation. So now we can use only paid invoices. So now we could show you Concatenate, which is let's go back to here and we will say I'll insert a cell and I'll say customer, and this will be Owen Corp BTEC Masatron God Limited Imagination. There you go. And God, I have limited imagination. Christmas party yesterday. Excel, Google. There you go. Right, and I will double click between the cells, make sure the icon changes. Now it's wide enough. Now, in some cases, I might want to do names of customers, and I'll tell you why this might be useful in a minute. In fact, I'll show you a real life thing. So we've got concat and we've got concatenate. Concat is a list or range of strings, and concatenate joins several strings into one text string. So the important thing here is it combines it into a text string. This one is a list or range of strings. So we could probably use both of them, but we will use concatenate. I found it to work slightly better. Go back here, I'll do my range and then I'll center. And what I'll do is just change that to a very high number. And you see it's made them all into cells. That's not what we wanted actually. Let's try concat. Let's go there you go. So now it's all in one cell. Now the problem is they're all should be A2, shouldn't it? Oh, problem is it's doing it on this sheet, so I want to delete that, go back to here, do this bit, press enter, and then what I'll do is I will put this to a very high number. There you go. Right, but now you see they're all there, but the problem is they're all touching, there's no spacing, there's no commas or anything. So, how did I solve that before? Let me tell you. So I've probably done it on this one. How did I do it here? Text join. That's what we did. So, right here, text join. Right. So, double click on it. Delimiter is going to be a comma. In fact, maybe we could do a comma space. Right, and then ignore empty cells or include empty cells. So I would say ignore empty cells, comma, and then text one is going to be here. So let's enter. So now what it's done is because we're using text join, what it's saying is I'm going to join the text these cells, but I'm going to delimit them. Delimiter is something that is in between something. So if you ever hear of comma separated values, CSV files, they are all of values separated by a comma. There's no space, it's just a comma. But the computer can say, if I see a comma, I know that it's a new row basically, or it's a new value, or it's a new item. So Owen, comma, Grace, it knows those are two different entries. And in this case, what we're saying is I'll ignore the empty ones as well. So you could include the empty ones, in which case that would be, say you were having a massive database of your customers, and you were entering all of the customer names against the invoices, and there was no customer name there, but there was an invoice. You wouldn't want to insert the wrong customer's name there, just because it's blank. You'd ignore the entry, so you would say false, in which case what it would do is it would just do a comma comma basically, so it knows that there's an empty value there, so it doesn't match them up wrong. So there are times that would be useful. So you can see the difference. Obviously it's much easier to read with the comma there, and that was using text join. Really useful. But concatenate is still really useful, and I'll tell you why. I'll give you an example using here's our thing. We were going to do some bulk uploads for social media. Sorry, brain. And what it's doing is it's going to this place with formula C2. In fact, I'll go into this one. This one, right? We're doing concatenate, and we're doing L2. L2 is, or I2, sorry. I2 has just got the content. I've just written a bit of content for each post. So we've got the content, and then we've made a space, which is text number 2. Text number 3 is C2, which is over here, which is the hashtags. So I'm saying, here's my blurb that I'm going to write on social media. Do a space, do the hashtags, do another space, and then if F2 equals Instagram business, then I'm going to go to R2, or and you know, I'll show you if in a minute. Or I'm going to go to if it equals Facebook, I'm going to go to R3. So now we'll just check what R2 and R3 are. If we find them down here, you can see link in bio or click here for tickets. So Instagram, we say link in bio. Facebook, we say click here for tickets, and we put the link. And after all of that concatenation, it actually makes this. So there's the blurb, here's my hashtags, and then afterwards I've got link in bio. Pretty simple stuff. Very good use of concatenate to save myself some time. And the reason I did that is because I don't want to have to copy and paste hashtags all the time. And this one, the hashtags, are in another spreadsheet. So I just linked that, and then I filled down. So let me show you about fill down. Fill down's a really useful feature. So we'll do 22, 12, 22, and then I grab the corner, and you have to make sure the icon changes. So this little crosshair, and you fill down, and if you look, all of the dates have done like that as well. Now if I do it on number 1 and I fill down, it just does 1 all the way down. Can you see it on the side of the bar that I'm doing? And if I do 1, 2 and fill down, it knows to fill down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if I do Monday and fill down, it knows to fill down the days. And obviously there's some other things like months or something like that you could do. So fill down is a pretty useful feature. Now, what happens if you do fill down on a calculation? If I do equals, and then I'm going to use the arrow, go over to this one. So I'm going to equals B2, and I'm going to do plus 20%. Alright, press enter. So we should change it back to a currency. So there you go. So it's added 20%. How is that 20%? Doesn't make sense. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll just do B2 times 20%. There you go. There you go, that's better. So what I did is I just added brackets in there to do that. Now if I fill down, here's a useful thing. See this hashes? Sometimes means there's not enough space, so I just double click here and it opens up the spreadsheet, the cell. And what you see is that this is B2, but this is B3, B4, B5, B6, B7, B8. So that's really useful. But perhaps we don't want to do that. Perhaps we want, over here I say 20%. And I'll just expand that. So perhaps now, instead of saying 20%, B2 times, and I'll get rid of that bit, and then I just click here. So then it's the same thing, right? But when I fill down, let's open it up. This one is now, instead of doing 20%, it's doing the 1200, which isn't what I want, obviously. So to protect against that, I can put a $ in front of these. So if I put a $ in front of the G, it'll stop it from going, GHIJK. The other one will stop it going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So now if I do that, and now I fill down, you see the numbers won't be as ridiculous. There you go. And so now if I just change this to 25%, all of my formulas will update. So it's pretty useful sometimes to have an extra cell with this sort of stuff in. So what have we done so far? Oh, we haven't done if statements, right? If, right, so well, we've done some if, so I guess it's the same thing. but you would just do equal if, double click on it, so logical test, sorry. So if b2 is greater than 1000, right, and then we're going to do a comma, logical test b2 greater than 1000. Oh, sorry, we can't put a comma in the logical test, we need a comma here. As value is true, we're going to say yippee, and value is false, we say boo. So there we go. So if I fill down, we'll do all the other ones. So some are yippee, some are boo. Hooray! Pretty cool. Not exactly the best place for me to position this, so I could remove it. But the other thing to know is if we do this, sometimes we might actually not want it to do anything. So if we don't want to do anything, what we do is we just put comma, quote quote, and it will just be blank. So here we go. So the one that says yippee are yippee, and the other ones are blank. Finally, what I would like to do is these ones perhaps, and I want to do some conditional formatting. Now where is conditional? There is conditional formatting. So highlights rule cells. So this one is equal to. So what we'll do is format cells are equal to paid. We're going to turn them to green. That's okay. Now look, they're green. Brilliant. But conditional formatting cells equal to paid. Then we'll fill with green. Can we? How about if we do new rule? So we could do actually 2 different values on this one, but what I want to do is cell value equals paid. Right, format will be red. Oh, sorry, green. So that's okay. Now how do you do multiples? There is a way to do multiple rules in a row. I can't remember how to do it, but there is a way to do it. But that's all I'm going to teach you for now. That is quite a lot of learning, quite quickly. Hopefully you find some of these things useful. You will see, if you look at some of the spreadsheets I make, you'll see things like the way I do them. If you look at the competitor research, in this case we wanted to do the groupings, so we did a text join, and we basically want to join all of these together, but we only wanted to join 10 together because Instagram doesn't really like more than 10 hashtags, so we followed that as a rule. So we did the text join. Delimiter was a space, ignore the empties was true, index, we basically said text1 is an array, and then we make array, and what we do is use a lambda function. We basically say just choose 1 every 10, so you don't pick them all in a row, because they're in order of the most popular, and instead of picking like the 10 most popular, then the next 10 second most popular, and so on, we decided to do 1 popular, the 10th popular, 11th popular, 21st popular, rah 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 rah. So there are lots and lots of complicated things you can do, and I use Excel to do this stuff all the time, but hopefully you can start using it to make your job easier and quicker. So thanks for watching. I hope it helps some people.